So Instacart recently lost $59 million, and they completely alienated their own customer base, all because they trusted a piece of state-of-the-art AI to just do a human's job.
Oh, wow. Just handed it over?
Literally just plugged in the tech, let it run their pricing model, and it was a total unmitigated public relations disaster. And we're going to get into exactly why that happened. Because today, we are diving into a stack of fresh data to figure out why the tech that's supposedly going to, replace us all tomorrow is actually making employers beg for human talent right now.
Yeah, and that's the exact contradiction we need to solve here. Because while Instacart is pulling the plug on their AI, the World Economic Forum just released their 2025 Future of Jobs report.
Yeah.
And it confirms that employers representing over 14 million workers globally are bracing for massive labor market transformations by 2030.
14 million. That's huge.
Right. They are actively restructuring their entire workforces based on AI, economic fragmentation, and the green transition. And that's not some, distant projection. That is a verified, undeniable reality happening right this second.
So by the end of this deep dive, you won't just understand what is genuine media hype and what's a real threat to your livelihood. You're going to understand exactly how the very definition of the word work is fundamentally shifting.
Exactly. You won't just be along for the ride.
Right. You're going to know exactly how to position yourself in this new landscape. And we're going to give you one concrete step you can take today to secure your value.
So here's the roadmap for how we're going to get there. We're going to look at what's actually happening, right? We'll cut through all the media noise, look at the extreme disconnect between Silicon Valley's promises and what AI safety experts are warning about.
And then we'll talk about what it means for normal people like you.
Yeah, we'll look at the hard data on what top-tier AI actually fails to do today, why it fails, and end with something concrete you can do about it.
I want to start with a scenario. Just picture yourself sitting at your desk, doing a task that usually takes you, a full week. And suddenly, a machine does it flawlessly in 10 seconds.
Honestly, that is a terrifying thought.
It is. And it brings us to this massive perception gap we saw in the Fortune reporting. There is this really familiar frustration bubbling up in Silicon Valley right now. The insiders building this tech are genuinely annoyed by public skepticism.
Because they just see it as this utopia, right?
Exactly. There's this quote from an OpenAI researcher who describes AI as, quote, your computer friend that never takes the day off, never gets bored, never checks out, and stops trying.
Okay, which, that sounds like thrilling abundance if you're a tech billionaire trying to solve logistics. But what sounds like a miracle to the guy building it sounds incredibly unsettling to the person whose paycheck is on the line.
Yeah, nobody wants a tireless computer friend if that friend is competing for their mortgage payments.
Right. And this brings us to Dr. Roman Yampolsky. He's a globally recognized AI safety expert. Actually, he's the guy who coined the term AI safety like 15 years ago. And his timeline for this tech completely shatters that friendly Silicon Valley narrative.
What's his timeline?
Well, he's predicting we could reach artificial general intelligence, or AGI, by 2027.
And just so we're all on the same page, AGI basically means a machine that is smarter than humans in every single cognitive domain. Not just like playing chess or writing an email. Everything.
And Dr. Yampolsky predicts this could lead to a world with a 99% unemployment rate.
Okay, wait, 99%. Honestly, that sounds like pure sci-fi fear-mongering just designed to sell a book.
I know, it sounds extreme. Let's look at the 5 specific jobs he calls out as being eliminated in this timeline, because he splits them into cognitive and physical. On a cognitive side, job number 1 is coders.
Wow. After we spent the last decade telling everyone to learn to code, to bulletproof their careers.
Exactly. Now, AI is arguably better at writing and debugging code than most humans. Number 2 is writers and data analysts. Basically anything purely text-based on a screen.
Right, which is a massive chunk of the modern workforce.
It really is. And number 3, and this one hits close to home podcasters and broadcasters, he explicitly noted that an AI could ingest a lifetime of audio, perfect the vocal tics, the pacing, and generate a flawless simulation of a host interviewing literally anyone in the world.
Okay, that is genuinely unsettling. It really is. And if you're listening to this and your stomach just dropped, it is completely okay to feel that way. Nobody wants to feel that kind of powerlessness.
Yeah, it's a completely normal reaction.
But we cannot let that fear just sit there. Because if an economy hits 99% unemployment, How does it even function? If nobody has a job, who is buying the goods that this AI infrastructure is supposedly making? You can't have a consumer economy without consumers.
And that is the multi-trillion-dollar question. Yampolsky himself admits he doesn't fully know how a capitalist society functions when human labor has a market value of zero. He's just looking purely at the technological capability.
Right, he's a computer scientist, not an economist.
Exactly. And that brings us to the physical jobs. Job number 4, drivers. Autonomous logistics are already displacing transport workers. And job number 5, which he pegs to 2030, plumbers and physical laborers. He thinks humanoid robots will soon have the spatial dexterity to navigate like unpredictable physical environments.
See, if we look at the tech industry's attitude toward all of this, it's mind-boggling. I heard this analogy recently. Imagine a tech company invents a fully autonomous tractor. It drives itself, plants the seeds, harvests the crops, and it can even mine metal to build replica tractors.
Leaving the farmer with absolutely nothing to do.
Right. Zero income. The engineers cannot possibly be surprised when that farmer isn't throwing a parade for the tractor. Hearing your livelihood could be wiped out in 3 years is paralyzing.
It is. But here is what this actually means for your life today and why you don't need to panic. Because Yampolsky's 2027 timeline sounds apocalyptic, but to ground that fear, we have to look at what the state-of-the-art tech is actually doing today in the real, messy world.
And the data tells a completely different story about your value right now.
It really does.
Let's dig into that. Because if the media is screaming that we're all going to be replaced by robots tomorrow, we need to understand the actual mechanics of what these machines are. We're talking about large language models, or LLMs. Let's just define that simply.
Okay, let's cut through the jargon.
An LLM isn't a brain. It is essentially a hyper-advanced autocomplete. It has ingested trillions of words from the internet, and when you ask it a question, it uses heavy math to predict the most statistically likely next word in a sequence. It is incredibly good at mimicry.
Mimicry is the perfect word. And that distinction between mimicry and actual reasoning is at the core of a new joint study from Harvard and MIT, which was in that Fortune reporting.
What did they find?
Well, researchers took the absolute most sophisticated LLMs, the ones everyone says are going to replace knowledge workers, and they tested them on real scientific discovery tasks. Not just summarizing old papers, but generating novel hypotheses and reasoning through complex physics.
And the results expose the limitation of that whole autocomplete mechanism, right?
Exactly. The researchers found that these models talk and write exactly like scientists, but they do not think like them. They completely failed at true discovery.
Because if your entire operational model is based on predicting the most likely next word from historical data, you can't make a leap of logic into the unknown. True discovery isn't statistically predictable.
No, it's not. And furthermore, the researchers noted that simply making the computers bigger and feeding them more data gave severely diminishing returns. The models aren't getting fundamentally smarter, they're just getting better at sounding smart.
It's basically the difference between knowing the vocabulary and actually understanding the physics. I always think of it as the hyper-advanced parrot analogy. Imagine you have a brilliant parrot that sits in the back of a Harvard quantum mechanics lecture for 4 years. Eventually, that parrot can perfectly mimic a brilliant hour-long lecture on string theory.
It sounds like a certified genius.
Exactly. But if you hand that parrot a whiteboard marker and ask it to solve a brand new equation, it's just going to squawk at you.
Yeah.
It doesn't understand gravity or mass. It just understands the statistical pattern of the human words. We are mistaking the AI's incredible mimicry for actual reliable reasoning.
And that is the exact trap companies are falling into right now. Which brings us right back to the Instacart disaster. Instacart bought into the hype. They acquired an AI pricing technology for $59 million.
$59 million?
Yeah. And the goal was to use machine learning to dynamically change grocery prices to maximize profit margins.
But let's look at why it failed. Because AI operates on reinforcement learning.
Sure.
You give it a single goal, in this case, maximize profit, and it will ruthlessly optimize for that one metric.
So what did the AI do? It realized that certain customers in certain demographics would technically pay a few cents more for like a bag of spinach.
Oh no.
Yes. So it started charging different customers different prices for the exact same items at the exact same stores, varying by up to 7%.
I mean, mathematically, highly optimized, humanly, a complete disaster. It completely destroyed consumer trust at a time when families are already so stressed about inflation and food costs. Instacart had to scrap the entire multi-million-dollar program.
Because the AI lacked the basic human common sense to understand a fundamental rule of commerce. Humans despise feeling cheated. An algorithm can't weigh the abstract value of long-term brand loyalty against a short-term margin.
So if AI fundamentally lacks common sense and it can't handle the messy ethical nuances of human interaction, what are real employers actually dealing with today? Because companies are waking up to a completely different crisis.
Yeah, if we pull the lens back and look at the actual corporate data, the narrative flips completely. The World Economic Forum's 2025 report explicitly states that the biggest barrier to business transformation worldwide is not AI taking over.
What is it?
It is the skills gap. Companies are practically drowning in new technology, but they cannot find humans with the complex, critical thinking skills required to manage it, fix it, and apply it ethically.
And McKinsey's research on what they're calling the great attrition proves this. Instead of a wave of AI-driven mass layoffs, companies are actually bleeding talent. People are quitting at record levels.
And they aren't just taking a lateral move to a competitor.
Right.
Yeah.
McKinsey found that 31% of people who quit are leaving to start entirely new jobs in entirely new industries. Working parents are walking away to demand flexibility. Employees are realizing their worth and just refusing to work in toxic cultures.
So organizations are in panic mode. They're being forced to stop dictating terms and start focusing on redeploying, upskilling, and meeting the deep psychological needs of their workers just to keep the lights on.
Which makes sense. McKinsey's data shows that human capital, your unique skills, your judgment, your emotional intelligence still represents 2/3 of an average individual's wealth. And your practical, on-the-ground work experience makes up half of that value. AI does not have lived experience.
The irony here is just staggering. The media is selling this panic that robots are taking our jobs tomorrow, but the actual corporate data shows we are sitting in the middle of a massive talent drought. Employers are literally begging for humans who can navigate a complex, unpredictable world.
We're so focused on the fear of replacement that we're completely ignoring the massive leverage human workers hold over employers right now. You are not obsolete. Today, you have immense power.
That is such an important reframe, but maintaining that power requires adaptation. As AI inevitably absorbs more of the routine, rules-based tasks over the next decade, the spreadsheets, the scheduling, the basic coding, the definition of work shifts.
Right. If a machine can do the predictable tasks instantly, we have to redefine the unique, unautomatable value of a human worker. What is actually left for us to do?
This circles back to Dr. Yampolsky. Even with his extreme predictions, he has a fascinating theory about the jobs that will survive this transition. He argues the human jobs left will be entirely based on historical preference and connection. He uses a pretty provocative term, a human fetish.
A human fetish, that's a jarring phrase.
It is, but the economic logic is solid. He uses Warren Buffett as an example. Even if an AI could audit his financials with mathematical perfection in 2 seconds, Buffett will likely always insist on a human accountant.
Because he prefers the human relationship.
Exactly. The trust, the handshake, the shared understanding of risk. Yampolsky argues that serviced by humans will become a premium luxury status symbol. It's exactly like buying a vinyl record in the Spotify era.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
You don't buy the vinyl because the audio is technically superior. A digital file is way cleaner. You buy the vinyl for the warmth, the ritual, and the tangible humanity of the experience.
Let's translate that to the real world. If there are 5 jobs AI will destroy, there are 3 jobs or categories of jobs that AI can never truly touch, because the human element is the actual product.
What's number 1?
Number 1, the human doctor. An AI app might be able to scan your blood work and give you a faster preliminary diagnosis, but when you are sitting in a sterile room, terrified that you might have cancer, you do not want an iPad delivering that news.
No, absolutely not.
You want a human oncologist to look you in the eye, hold your hand, and tell you how you're going to fight it together. Empathy cannot be coded.
That is so true. Number 2, the human lawyer. An LLM can certainly draft a watertight contract or summarize case law, but when you are in a courtroom fighting for custody of your children or defending your freedom, an algorithm cannot advocate for you.
Right. You need a human being who can read the emotional temperature of a jury, express genuine passion, and argue the nuances of justice.
Exactly. And number 3, the human customer service representative. We have all experienced this.
Oh, the worst.
When your flight is canceled at midnight and you are stranded in an airport with 2 crying toddlers, an AI chatbot telling you, "I'm sorry for the inconvenience," is rage-inducing.
It really is. You need a human agent who can empathize with your exhaustion, bend the rigid corporate rules, and find a creative way to get you home.
This raises a really uncomfortable economic implication. If human interaction becomes the ultimate luxury good, it threatens to create a massive class divide.
How so?
Just like you pay a premium for a handmade wooden dining table with slight imperfections over a perfectly uniform, mass-produced plastic table, in 2035, you'll pay a massive premium to speak to a human. The wealthy might get the empathetic human doctor and the human lawyer, while the middle and lower classes are relegated to AI diagnostics and automated public defenders.
Wow. Which means the imperfections, the messy, emotional, unautomatable parts of being human, are exactly what make us economically valuable. And this isn't just an economic theory, it's a profound societal need.
Yeah, that Fortune reporting highlighted a piece from Time magazine that tackles this exact issue from an ethical standpoint. Leaders across various faiths, ethicists, and philosophers are loudly pushing back on the AI boom.
And they aren't just being anti-technology Luddites. They're specifically warning about the psychological impact.
Right. They're looking at the rise of AI companions and automated therapy, and they're warning that this technology is actively isolating people, especially youth, from real, messy, beautiful human community. It provides the illusion of connection without the friction of actual vulnerability.
And McKinsey's findings echo this completely in the corporate space. Employees are desperate for purpose, community, and belonging in the hybrid workplace. They don't just want a perfectly optimized workflow, they want to feel connected to other human beings.
Because a tireless computer friend that never takes a day off cannot give you a sense of belonging.
Exactly. If the headline says AI can write a script faster than a human, it completely misses the point. We don't just consume content for the information. We consume it to know that another human being poured their lived experience, their pain, and their joy into creating it. We just want to feel less alone.
So we have unpacked a massive amount of information here. We started with the extreme, terrifying prediction of 99% unemployment by 2027. But we balanced that by looking at the mechanical reality of current AI, how LLMs are just hyper-advanced autocomplete mimicking reasoning.
And how algorithms destroyed trust at Instacart by optimizing for profit over human ethics.
Right. We looked at the real corporate data showing employers are desperate for human talent to bridge a massive skills gap. And we redefined human labor not as a robotic series of tasks, but as a premium connection-based asset.
Which brings us to the promise we made at the beginning. What do you, the listener, actually do with this information today? Because you don't need to be a machine learning expert, and you certainly don't need to try and outcode the AI.
The most concrete, achievable action you can take to bulletproof your career is to lean heavily into your humanity. If your current job requires you to act like a robot, doing highly predictable data entry, sending template emails, or operating purely on rigid rules-based logic, you are in the crosshairs. You need to pivot.
You need to actively upskill in areas that require deep emotional intelligence, complex human negotiation, and navigating unpredictable, messy environments.
So here is the one specific step you can take today before you even log off for the evening.
Just one thing.
Look at your schedule for tomorrow. Find one task, one meeting, or one email exchange where you usually just go on autopilot and follow the script. I want you to inject a highly human, unautomatable element into it.
Pick up the phone instead of sending a sterile Slack message. Ask a client a genuine, unscripted question about their life. Solve a logistical problem using empathy and intuition rather than just following the corporate manual.
Practice being the handmade wooden table, not the factory plastic. Because relationships are the one currency AI cannot inflate. It's about doubling down on the friction of being human.
I love that. Now, before we end this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final mind-bending thought from Dr. Yampolsky. Because his views on artificial intelligence are alarming, but his views on the nature of reality itself are entirely paradigm shifting.
Oh, this part is wild. Let's hear it.
Dr. Yampolsky strongly subscribes to the simulation theory. He believes that we are, right now, living inside a computer simulation.
Wait, literally like the Matrix?
Exactly like that. But his argument isn't science fiction. It is based on statistical probability. He argues that once any advanced civilization possesses the computing power to affordably create perfect virtual worlds with simulated, conscious humans inside them, they won't just run one simulation.
They'll run billions of them.
Billions. Simultaneously. For historical research, for entertainment, or to run probability models. So, statistically speaking, the mathematical odds that we happen to be the one original biological civilization living in base reality are roughly 1 in a billion.
Wow.
It is mathematically almost certain that our universe is just code running on a machine.
Okay, that's a lot to process. But if we connect that back to everything we've talked about today, if you, the listener, are just a simulated human, stressing out about a simulated artificial intelligence taking your simulated job in a simulated economy, it fundamentally changes the stakes, doesn't it?
It really does. It completely strips away the existential panic. It reframes the anxiety.
It's a profound reminder not to let future anxieties rob you of your present reality. Whether this world is made of biological atoms or lines of quantum code, it doesn't actually change your experience of it.
Exactly. The pain you feel is real, the love you have for your family is real, and the deep connections you make with other human beings are real.
Focus on the tangible meaning in your life today, because that connection is the point of the simulation.
So, take a deep breath. The algorithms might be coming for the spreadsheets and the rigid syntax, but they can never come for your lived experience.
Log off. Engage with the messy, beautiful humans around you.
Look away from the screen, look at the physical world in front of you, and remember, you are not a machine.
Yeah.
And that is your greatest advantage.